Right, I think most people don't realize that the robotics industry had tons of investments go into it in the last 10 years.
Yeah, this is a quite cool time to be doing AI.
In our industry, when someone says another layer one, I think maybe some people roll their eyes.
You were like, Ben, you've got to build a layer one. I'm like, well, fuck you. There's enough.
Yeah.
There's a lot of layer ones out there already. Sure, I could rebuild a better operating system than Linux. And early 1980s, you saw computing shift from mainframes into PCs, right? And then the internet. I think we can see in the next couple of years a gradual shift.
You've reached Toby and Brent. We'll get back to you.
All right, we're here in Hong Kong during Consensus, and today I don't have Toby next to me, the giant who's usually here, my partner, but today I'll be manning the ship, and I have two guests. Amar, we've known each other for a while, and Dr. Ben, I've known you for a while, but meeting for the first time here. And for the audience that doesn't maybe know you guys, know a lot of people know you, but just for general context, what brings you guys to Consensus, and what are you guys working on?
I've known you for a long time, Brent, from back in the day, and super excited about what you guys have built at TBB. We've been building Tashi for the last 4 years, and the whole idea is we're building a coordination layer which is trustless for machines, and that becomes even more critical as we're seeing this agentic world blow up, where every machine becomes autonomous, and we want collective context between these machines, and that's what Tashi essentially enables. So imagine you have 10 drone swarms, you have 10 different humanoids, all kinds of different machines out there in warehouses, in the wild, doing all kinds of stuff. Right now, they're all individually autonomous. They do not have collective context. And when you open them up, they get open to the basic peer-to-peer networks, in simple terms, are open to hacking. So we kind of build a peer-to-peer network which still has trust and can operate with the speed of real-time internet. So that's the main thing. We're here in Hong Kong. We were here last year too at Consensus. It's one of the biggest cities for crypto right now, and Consensus is one of the best conferences, so meeting tons of investors, partners, other folks that we're doing stuff with. So excited to be here and chat with you about it.
Awesome, man. Yeah, great to see you again. And Dr. Ben, I don't know if you even need an introduction, but just,
Yeah, this is a quite cool time to be doing AI and also blockchain and crypto, right? Because these are, AI has been around longer, since the middle of the last century. But the last couple of years, it's finally starting to do stuff that everyday people can see and interact with. And blockchain hasn't been around quite as long, but it's been around a while. I've been doing decentralized AI stuff since 2017, but really only the last year or so is this sort of plumbing working well enough that you could really leverage decentralized networks for serious applications, right? So, I think the next year or two is a time when it all comes together and you can start to really use decentralized infrastructure to host AI systems doing interesting things. And so we're in SingularityNET, we're launching something called the ASI chain. It's now in DevNet, it'll go into testnet. This is intended as a new layer one that lets you do sophisticated AI processes on chain, rather than just having sort of blockchain nodes that do the payment or messaging for AI processes. You can actually flexibly move the AI processing off and on chain. Now, I have my own AGI approach, my approach to artificial general intelligence, machines that can leap and generalize beyond their training data, which is called Hyperon. We bring neural nets together with logical and evolutionary AI. This is customized to run on our ASI chain infrastructure. But what I was after here at Consensus is just to get a sense of the different AI applications people are building on existing layer one chains. What are people aiming to use AI for? And what Tashi is doing with robotics is an interesting example. There's a whole bunch of cool DeFi stuff out there. There's a bunch of sort of data sovereignty stuff going on, because all of these things, they can exist on every chain, but I'm interested to pull them onto our new layer one when it launches also, right? And I think there will be some advantages there, because I think just as we saw in the early 1980s, you saw computing shift from mainframes into PCs, right? And then the internet. I think we can see in the next couple of years a gradual shift of AI from these monolithic centralized server farms into decentralized networks. And we're hoping our ASI chain is one of the places where this happens. And I mean, robotics, as we're talking about, will be one of the applications where this happens.
And I think in our industry, when someone says another layer one, I think maybe some people roll their eyes, because there's been a lot of layer ones that have tried. And obviously, maybe a lot of them not worked out. But I think what we were talking about earlier is the timing. And I think in life, timing is everything. And now we're at the stage where AI is obviously, I think last year over $80 billion was invested into AI.
Yeah.
And now with like crypto and like where I think in our industry, for a lot of layer ones, there's been a lot of freeways built, but not a lot of cars on those freeways.
Know, when I started SingularityNET in 2017 and 18, many people in our community were like, Ben, you've got to build a layer one. I'm like, well, fuck you. There's enough. There's a lot of layer ones out there already, right? And I've got enough trouble trying to build superhuman thinking machines. Like, sure, I could rebuild a better operating system than Linux, and we could build a better chip, which actually we're doing now, but not the OS, but the chip. But I mean, we'll focus on the application layer, right? Like building an agentic framework and then thinking algorithms on top of it. But as we rolled forward with it and did deploy AI agents and cognitive systems on top of Ethereum, we shifted to Cardano for some things because it was more efficient than Ethereum was at that time, and you could do formal verification of the contracts. But we kind of hit obstacles. We're like, well, shit.
Yeah.
What we really want is a smart contract language that we can use as an AI language, right? And you're not going to write advanced AI in Solidity, right? And I mean, Bitcoin doesn't have a native smart contract language. You can layer things on top of it. Haskell and Cardano was cool, but it doesn't support concurrent processing efficiently to use all the cores. So in the end, we're like, well, if
we have to build it ourselves.
If we want to put our AI thinking processes on chain, then we need to take our own AGI languages and make them smart contract languages, right? And that led us to a new chain architecture, right? Which is kind of cool in the end. The smart contract language, which is called Meta, METTA. This is an advanced AGI language. Then different shards of the chain can have different consensus mechanisms for the purpose. So like if you're doing high frequency trading, you can put a consensus called Casanova on there. If you're doing, messaging between embedded devices, you can use their consensus. If you have a mesh network of phones or something, you can use a ledgerless consensus like cordial miners. So we started with wanting to put our AGI language as a smart contract language, but then that led us to a quite interesting L1 architecture. But it doesn't have to be the L1 to rule them all, right? Like you can interoperate with other chains, which to the extent that they have interesting things running on them.
Because I think for a lot of people, especially in our industry, like AI can mean like a lot of things to a lot of different people, and it affects almost every vertical. Where will you guys start? Is it robotics, or like what is like the main focus? As obviously like ASI, people are starting to hear more and more about ASI, especially since like last year. Kind of consumer level from a B2B perspective, like where other layer ones have maybe failed at getting attention or the right partners or the right onboarding to bring people on board. What are you guys doing to kind of do that as far as partnerships or verticals of focus, as far as like where it's like, oh, I have to start using ASI, it makes the most sense, and you can kind of grow that ecosystem?
I mean, there's a couple layers there, right? So that there's what do we provide to developers to use, and then there's what end user products do you make, right? So I mean, I think we're going to have to make something that's as simple as ChatGPT or Claude for people to use, and just roll it out on the decentralized network. And toward that end, we're putting a bunch of work into using our fancy AGI stuff in the Hyper-N architecture to making it work together with open source LLMs, but to give a sort of better reasoning-based back end. So I'd say if you're doing any kind of AI in a domain where there's some hard data behind it, rather than just a bunch of web pages, then the AI that we're building and rolling out on our chain is going to be smarter than what you're getting from current LLMs. So again, robotics embedded devices is an example, because you have specific information about like where are they and what are they doing. But finance is another example, because you have actual data of the transactions that are happening, whether it's on chain or TradFi. Like medicine is another example. You have genomic data, you have clinical medical data. Anytime you have data that isn't just a bunch of stuff people said, you have something where other kinds of AI, besides the standard language models, can add some extra insight. And then connecting language models, LLMs, with other AI agents doing different kinds of reasoning and learning on our network can give added value. So we're gonna roll out a bunch of different interactive agents people can chat with and access by API, but they're not just taking open source LLMs and putting them on blockchain nodes, right? You're connecting them to other kinds of AI that can crunch relevant kinds of data in a useful way. And so robotics is a key vertical, and we have a spin-off called Mindchill. We're building our own little robots. They're like 3 foot tall humanoid robots, which are going to be used as teaching assistants in Korean schools. And they've got their own robotics and embedded device thing, which is quite cool. Then medicine, we're doing a number of things. We have a spin-off called Rejuve.ai that sort of you can put all your medical records into it, and it gives you advice on the right path to optimize your longevity. And then the data that you put in a suitably encrypted and secure form is used to fuel AI algorithms that are discovering new therapeutics, right? So if you look at robotics, DeFi, and then medicine, these are among the verticals that are interesting, and each of them has some solid data underlying it that gives something for our more advanced AGI algorithms to chew on, to sort of give insights beyond what you can get from chatbots.
Yeah, and maybe touch on that with AI in robotics, because obviously that's a big thing. When people think of that, I think now the branding is probably, people think of that, they think, Tesla and like all the robots. And obviously there's a lot of other companies now that have robots. What's kind of unique about what you guys are doing?
Unitree making their back-flipping robots.
Yeah, I saw a whole dance orchestra. I forget what city it was in China recently that went viral on Twitter.
So there's so much, right? I think most people don't realize that the robotics industry had tons of investments go into it in the last 10 years. And the biggest change that's happened is that AI models have started catching up for those robots to embody physical AI. That's why it's the hottest word that everyone's talking about, is embodied AI. And that AI is helping those robots were actually, those Unity robots could do backflips even almost 10 years ago. It was not that mainstream because, that was just one thing it could do. It couldn't do anything else in the wild. And now when you put those robots out there, people are like, what are these robots actually useful for? Because if you think about the manufacturing industry, it's been dominated by robotics for a long time. Like Amazon Robotics is a pretty massive company. So when you think about Amazon, you don't think about robotics at all. Yeah. But their warehouses have tons of robots. Now, this is where I think the key difference is happening is because of AI, is that these are all special purpose robots that have existed. Yeah. And for that, the machines have been fantastic. But when you think about humanoids, there's a few different reasons, which I'm sure Dr. Ben will have better reasons why people want humanoids, right? And there's a lot of it is around psychology, etc.
Yeah. I hate doing laundry, so I'm so down for this.
If you had just a laundry robot and a separate robot, there could be tons of robots you could have doing 20 different tasks, and they would be super cheap.
Well, the world is your robot. That's
right. Exactly. Yeah. But people like humanoid robots for a certain reason. Like Dr. Ben, if you don't know, was also chief scientific officer at Hanson Robots, which built.
So we made Sophia the first robot citizen. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah.
So so you think about what AI is doing is it's giving context, and this is one of the key things that decentralization is so important for when you think about robotics and AI's future, is getting contextual data on the edge, which is what is the most missing piece that needs to be solved. So if you've seen those videos of people just recording, folding clothes over and over, that's because we're training robots to be able to do that smoothly. So if you think about that, just that one task needs, 1 days of data from hundreds of people. So think about the kind of tasks humans are doing on a daily basis, and you need to train robots on that. And we don't have that right now. So decentralization allows you to say, hey, you have this camera, go around, do these tasks, and it just creates an easy environment for humans to collect data in specific context, upload it, and then add it into open source AI models. And that basically is going to be the next evolution, that these robots, as they're getting better, will be able to embody and start doing on a daily basis, where that one robot can do tons of tasks.
Think of a better use case for sort of data sovereignty and sort of trustworthy encryption of data that yet allows people's data to all be analyzed for the common good, right? Like now we've all sort of bought in that everything we write and all our social media messages are like put in to train.
That was the intention of open AI, right? Originally.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the one of the founders, right? But what I mean is if you have robots in your house watching you all the time and listening to you all the time,
I mean,
that's even more sensitive than what you type in your computer. Yet all that data is obviously critically needed to train the robots to do things. So what you need is in essence what scalable blockchains offer, right? Like, I mean, what you need is to be able to take all that data, encrypt it in a way that your keys are needed to use it for anything, and then properly use, multi-party computing, homomorphic encryption, properly use available technologies to allow analysis of all this data in a way that lets the non-private parts be leveraged. So, I mean, I'm okay if the data about the mess on the floor in my house is used to help robots not trip over the mess. I'm not okay if like the exact composition of the mess on my floor is put out there for the world to see. And there's technology to solve that problem.
And honestly, that is a tagline for ASI. I think needs to be a part of the marketing branding, because I think anyone would agree with that. But guys, really appreciate you coming on. Where can our community find you guys or follow you or see you next?
So we are most active on X. We have a link tree there which has links to the other profiles that we have on Telegram, Discord, but X is the best source, and X is at Tashi Protocol.
How about you, Dr. Ben?
Yeah, you can go to our website, SingularityNET.io or superintelligence.io, and find various links there. We're also on the X, LinkedIn, and all over the place. And my personal website, you can look at Goertzel.org and find plenty of stuff there too.
That's the We'll Get Back to You podcast. Follow these guys online and at upcoming events around the world.